Hi everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. Just let me know if you have problems or anything hearing. So let's see. I just want to start out by, Lorna framed the pilot a little bit. In the spring of 2011, we started the pilot using Kaltura. We actually used something called MediaSpace. So I'm going to use Kaltura and MediaSpace sort of interchangeably here in this little talk. So it started in the spring of 2011 here, and we had about 500 users. And Lorna, correct me if I'm wrong on that. We had about 500 users, and there was about 10 campuses using. There was quite a variety of disciplines and also a variety of course types. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about different course types, but the primary course type that was using Kaltura was for fully online and blended courses, although quite a few courses used it. The largest number of students that used it was for a fully face-to-face course or a more traditional face-to-face course. So as Lorna mentioned, Kaltura MediaSpace is sort of a separate product with the promise of more thorough integration coming in the future. But what I want to show you here is how we integrated it into the loose integration that we had with D2L. So I'm going to application share here, and I'm going to see if you guys can see this. Can you all see this screen? If you can't see it, you can also, if you go up to application share, I believe that if you go up to tools and application share, you should be able to select scale to fit. And then that will bounce it into a single window for you if you're having trouble seeing the whole screen. So what we did is we simply took the URL for MediaSpace and added it to our nav bar, which most of you know how to use, add a custom item to the nav bar, which is all we did. We just took the URL and added a custom link. Once that got onto the nav bar, I created separate accounts, which it's possible through a separate thing called a KMC. You can create accounts for individual users. So I created separate accounts for instructors. Okay, so each one of the instructors got their own account, and most of the instructors were uploading, their own course content, and I'll talk about that in a minute here. But for the student accounts, so if a student was using MediaSpace in their class, what I did was create a single account in which all the students used the same username and password. And then everybody uploaded to the same space, which helped quite a bit because then all of that media, and hopefully you can see that, all of that media then ended up to be together in its own folder. Okay, so the instructor could go in, log in, and see all the material that the students uploaded. Okay, so what I wanted to do is just show you really quickly how you can upload a video, or how students or instructors could upload a video. It's real straightforward. You log in and you click on My Media. You go to Upload Video. This uses a little Flash programming here. You just browse. You're not going to be able to see the video that I'm selecting here, but once it pops up, I can simply click Upload. And I have a bunch of help materials on this with screenshots and everything, so if you need some help materials for your faculty or students, let me know. Just put a title in here. We'll just say Test Reflection. And then at this point, you would still select UWM, or your institution. Mine is UWM, obviously. You could put tags in here unless things get really clogged up. Most people haven't been using tags at this point. Yeah, Cheryl's question, do other students see the media uploaded to the central account? And it is true, other students see other students' material. which was one of the pieces of feedback that we received on the survey, which I'll talk about in a little bit, that students really wanted more control over who sees their materials and who sees what they upload. But really until a fuller integration happens with D2L, it's going to be really difficult to manage those accounts, but the goal is that at some point that integration would happen with a single sign-on, and that the user roles would flow from D2L into MediaSpace so that students could be not only have a material that they see only themselves, but they can also share that with their classmates or their instructors, so that it would be the roles that would carry over would be course-based. Jim, easy to delete media from a student perspective is need be, I'm sorry, could you say that one more time, Jim, that students can delete the media easily? Yes, it didn't end up to be a problem when students uploaded to a single account. There was no incident. We had over 200 students using the same accounts, and we didn't have any problems with students accidentally deleting each other's work, but that could be a potential problem, which again is why we would need that richer integration. So once the video is uploaded, okay, it's very straightforward. You can click on the Get Embed Code. You can select a size, and these are sizes and skins that Peter Mann created, but we have a lot of flexibility over what these look like. There's also, as they're called, flavors, which is how the video gets encoded. So the video gets encoded into multiple formats when it gets uploaded, and some of those formats would allow for multiple devices to view that video. So in other words, iPads could view it, iPods, different mobile devices, tablets, that sort of thing. It also has the ability to be HTML5 compliant, and hopefully at some point in the future there's going to be some additional easy ways to get closed captioning. Closed captioning is an option at this point. In the player there'd be a little CC here so that you could click to get closed captioning. It is possible to have that right now, but it is a little bit more complicated and requires administrative access. So at some point, hopefully within the next year or so, many fingers crossed, that's going to become a lot easier for individual instructors to do. So you would copy that embed code here, select the player and the flavor that you want, copy the embed code. The way most folks are using this, most instructors are using this is obviously, here we go, in the content page. Okay, so for the most part, so I'm going to add a new topic here. I'm going to create a new file. All right, I'm going to give this a title. And odd, I'm not sure why, but way down here in the HTML editor, I'm going to insert stuff. So we're using the insert, the newer insert stuff feature. We're going to enter embed code. We're going to paste that embed code right in there and say next. It pops in a player for us. We click insert. And I'm going to put this in a module, and I'm going to say save. Okay, so it's really pretty much that simple. So in addition to having content or having the videos located in the content page, instructors are also placing them in the course home as introductions to modules or introductions to the course. Students are placing these in the discussion area quite a bit. Obviously I don't have anything in here right now, but they're putting it in the discussion area. It's really been beneficial. Many students commented on how much they liked the ability to watch other students' work and then make comment and provide feedback on that work. And then students are also putting these videos into their e-portfolio. So because of that embed code, it's really very easy. Any place in D2L that has the insert stuff, you can really easily insert that media space embed code into any of those areas, including the e-portfolio, which is really great for students. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my little presentation here. So does anybody have any questions that I might be able to answer about just how it sort of gets integrated into D2L and how it sort of gets uploaded and that sort of thing? Okay. Okay. So so how they're being incorporated right now, it's just a link on the navigation bar. Mostly instructors are adding to the content page, students are adding to discussions and e-portfolio. Now, there were quite a few folks who were trying to use the Dropbox to turn in video assignments. Because the HTML, or because the embed code relies on HTML, it's quite difficult for students to turn in these videos into the Dropbox. And so, as D2L, we all just got back, or many of us just got back from Fusion, and as D2L sort of integrates some better Dropbox functionality, hopefully some of that will be fixed as well. All right, so how are instructors using this? Primarily instructors are using this when they're creating their own content. They're creating course introductions, and this is especially in fully online courses. They're creating little mini lectures that supplement the course book or other text-based lectures. They're also creating small screen capture tutorials, like little Jing videos or little Camtasia videos where they go on web tours or they do software tutorials or something like this. So while Kaltura and MediaSpace is not allowing you to create any media, it is distributing the media. So the media that gets created by the instructor, it's easily distributed through that embed code. They're also collecting additional appropriated videos, so documentaries and films, animations, even some textbook published materials that are in file formats that are open. All that stuff can then be distributed out. Students are using Kaltura and MediaSpace a lot of, at our campus. We had a grant that some of you all know about last year to do digital storytelling / digital reflections, and quite a number of students used it to distribute their digital stories. Also, quite a lot of field work and interviews were collected, and then some research papers or research presentations that were replacing final papers. Okay. So here's my little diagram. The very top of this tier is this distribution. So really, what we were talking about when we talk about MediaSpace and what you can talk about when you're talking to your faculty, distribution is really the top of this pinnacle, right? It is, or this triangle. It's the piece that Kaltura deals with the best, and it's really that key piece that without this distribution piece, nothing actually really works. However, there's still the creation piece, right? So how does the material get created? And as I said earlier, Kaltura and MediaSpace, they're not dealing with that at this point, but it still is a really key part of this puzzle. And then how does the assignment get integrated into the class so that there's support, both technical and training, support and training? How do the students get that support and training, and how does that get built into assignments? So all this sort of has to work together, and so we have one of these pieces that is being solved by MediaSpace and Kaltura, but the other ones are still sort of...
Amy?
Yeah. Yeah.
For the courses, from what it looks like, the courses had all student videos in the same space. For the digital storytelling assignments, were some students kind of uncomfortable with sharing to the entire class? since digital storytelling clips are typically pretty personal?
Well, it's a good question because in the case of digital reflections, the digital reflections really deal more with reflecting back on the course material and the progress of the student through the course. And so it's really less personal. Digital reflection is really less personal, commonly is less personal than more traditional digital storytelling. So what we found through the surveys is that the students actually liked getting feedback from their peers on their digital reflections and their papers, their video papers. And we found that students actually liked the feedback as compared with felt uncomfortable. Although they did comment that they wanted more control, which I think does say that, hey, I like getting feedback and I like sharing this stuff, but I want to control who I share it with. So we got sort of both of those pieces of feedback.
Okay, thank you, Amy.
Cheryl, your question about beyond the pilot, I think that's something that maybe Lorna could answer to, or it's something that I don't think we know quite yet. Is that something you want to talk about right now, Lorna, or should we table that to later?
I can just make a very short comment on that, is that we are at the pilot stage and we really need input from the campuses to make a determination whether this is a product that has a future that we should continue to support as a system-wide system, or whether individual campuses have specific interest in acquiring their own license and such. That's why it's such a hard question to answer, because we really need input from the campuses. Otherwise, there's no way we can make a decision for everyone if we do not know what you need, what your needs are, as well as what your campus interests. So that's why I'm trying to get everyone, not everyone, more people to be engaged in the pilot.
And I think that's one of the reasons why Lorna asked me to talk a little bit about what UWM is doing, just to give you guys some ideas about how instructors and students are using media in their classes, but then also how it's sort of being integrated into D2L and being distributed and that sort of thing. Hopefully to sort of generate some interest from the other campuses. And feel free, a lot of material, I developed tons and tons of material, so if it's about support or training or something like that, let me know, because I can share stuff with you. But I do think that sort of taking a look at that sort of triangle and knowing that while Kaltura and MediaSpace is going to help with this distribution, in order for these to be successful, you do kind of want to talk with instructors about how it's fitting into the class and how the students are going to be creating that, or instructors are going to be creating that material. So some of the ways that the videos were created on our campus, there was some single shoot video clips using flip cameras or mobile devices or digital cameras on laptops and things like that. So just straight, you start the video and then you stop the video and then you upload it. So single shot. There was some video editing that occurred through OS-based software, so iMovie on a Mac or Windows Movie Maker on a PC. There's some good examples of that. It takes a little bit more support, but at least it's software that everybody has available to them. That's, the students don't have to go out and purchase additional stuff. There was some web-based creation tools. We used VoiceThread. There was an export tool associated with that. Managing the, this is what we used for the Digital Reflections grant. And there was some managing users was a little difficult in VoiceThread, and I don't know if I would use that again. However, there's some other really nice video editing, web-based video editing tools. JCut is a really nice example, and we may start to use something like this. Then there's also desktop applications. So for screen capture, there's Camtasia Studio and Jing. So for video tutorials and that sort of thing, software tutorials. And then there's some easy to learn and use desktop video editing applications like Pinnacle for PC and Final Cut Express for Mac. Okay, so just a little bit of feedback from the students and instructors. Was it easy to use? There was quite, agree and strongly agree was quite high here. They found it easy to use. It successfully, it did what it said it was supposed to do. Quite a lot strongly agree and agree. They found this to be pedagogically useful. They found it useful to share their videos. And that it was a valuable experience. And when it comes to sort of pedagogical questions like this, where you're asking students especially to sort of think about how the technology is fitting into their learning, most of the time you get fairly neutral responses because they just it's just sort of what you get back from them. They don't really know. But in this case, we had quite high responses for video being valuable experiences for them. So some of the things that the students and instructors did say, they really liked the ability to have new and different ways to learn and to teach. In both cases, both students and instructors said the same thing. It was novel, it was interesting for them. They found it a lot easier and faster than putting things into the Dropbox or turning it in on CD. There was quite a number of folks who had taken other classes where they were asked to take full videos and upload them into the Dropbox or turn them in on a CD. And obviously that's incredibly labor intensive and time consuming, and so they found this a lot easier to do. Yeah, can you imagine? Like, it's like, can you imagine they're still uploading things? They're still loading things onto a CD and turning in the physical object. I know, so archaic. So a lot of comments that the students really enjoyed seeing each other's videos, and they enjoyed them being embedded. They liked being able to control the video right inside of D2L, as compared with downloading the video and then using a local desktop player to play them. And they really liked being able to, the students especially really liked being able to demonstrate what they'd learned visually and with some additional creative endeavor than they had with other classes. Okay. Some wish lists that students and instructors had. They wanted faster and more reliable uploads. This is a training and support thing, which sort of leads back to that pedagogy, that pedagogical element. So if you have the assignment written well, you can alleviate some of these problems. So one of the problems was that students were trying to upload huge videos with a Wi-Fi connection. One student was trying to upload a huge video from a cafe, like a internet cafe, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, no wonder you're going to have problems. So a lot of this is about supporting them and making sure that they have proper support built into the assignments themselves. They wanted to be able to upload larger files. Right now there's a limit of 2 gigabytes. Granted, if you are training them and supporting them effectively, they will never need to upload more than 2 gigabytes. But again, these are things that you're trying to get all this built into the assignment so they don't have technical problems later on. They found that the interface, and I just showed you the interface in D2L, they found that interface to be a little bit clunky. They didn't know, it wasn't real intuitive for them where to click and where to go. So sort of streamlining that. They wanted to have the embed code be optional. They didn't want to have to use the embed code to get it into D2L. They wanted to just be able to upload it into D2L and all of a sudden it miraculously appears. They're like, why do I have to put this embed code and copy and paste? It's so silly. Which in essence it is. Again, I mentioned earlier that they wanted more privacy to determine who they wanted to see it, and another thing that came out really strongly from both instructors and students is they wanted to be able to edit easier. The fact that they had to go to a separate program, you know, Windows Media Maker or Windows Movie Maker or iMovie or some other product, they didn't want to have to go to separate products to do what they needed to do. They wanted to be able to do the editing really smoothly in a very, very streamlined manner. So there's just a few little lessons, and I can go through these really, really fast. In terms of instructor support, one of the things that seems to help quite a bit in terms of supporting instructors in their creation of media is to identify a small number of pieces of software that you can support that do the specific things that you need to have done. And then just support those tools, because media is one of those things that if you support everything, all you'll do is do support. So some of the needs that we identified was to have narrated presentations, like PowerPoint presentations. We identified needs to do screen capture, which I described earlier, to appropriate video, like documentaries and things like that. So we need to be able to rip and capture VHS or DVD. And then the ability to do some sort of full motion video, so webcams or little mobile devices or things like that. It's always a good idea to pilot the tools so that you have a really good idea about what the support needs are before you roll it out, and so that you can develop really good training materials, and so that you can identify best practices so that you can gather more interest from other folks. Jim's question about digital media labs, we really don't have things like that. There are labs that the students can go to, but there is not a media focus. And I think some of the other campuses, I think even yours, Jim, has much better options for students to create content on their own, and more support for that. Okay, yeah, and Whitewater too. Excellent. So generally with student assignments, just real quickly here, starting with the pedagogical need, you know, some instructors come in and they say, oh, I want to include this video assignment, and they haven't really thought out why it is or what pedagogical goals or learning goals that they would accomplish by having this assignment in place. And then also having them think beyond text. When you start to do media-rich assignments like this, you can really explore a lot more of those 21st century literacies. And sometimes instructors don't always have a clear sense of what those might look like, or what potentially they could be in an assignment. Help the instructor understand whether or not how the students are going to create those videos. Are they all going to use the same tool? If they do, the training and support is a lot easier, right? Because everybody's using the same tool. Or are the students going to choose the tool? Now, if they choose their own tool, there's sort of this weird thing that happens. Some students really excel and some students really flounder. So that's a disadvantage, but the advantage is that in a lot of cases the students are able to be more creative and they feel more invested in the product if they have the choice of tools. And then finally, just sort of making sure that the assignments are scaffolded so that there's specific tasks and deadlines associated with each part, so that the technical training and the support can be managed along the way, so it doesn't sort of blow up in your face at the very end. Does anybody have additional questions for me?
Nice job, Amy. I'd like to echo everybody else's items as they're coming up here. It was very good and refreshing to hear that. Any other items, Lorna?
No, I don't have any other items. Thank you everyone for attending,